Okay, operations. So operations is another one of those topics that we don't delve too deeply into. However, regardless of the kind of business that you might want to start or that you may be starting, you want to have a consistent product or service. And the way that we have consistent products or services is through an understanding of operations. I'm standing here in my little business, and I can tell you that I'm just going to duck down here. This place always looks this clean. The reason for that is because I have an understanding of operations, I have an understanding of layouts, I communicate that stuff to the folks that clean this place. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's other folks. I have an organization system, and believe me, I am not organized in my personal life. I'm organized in my business life. I have an organization system. I have a scheduling system. I have all kinds of little tips and tricks that I have learned through my study of operations that I have been able to scale down into my business. And so that's really what this lecture is going to be about for you, is how do you take these large scale concepts that I'm going to talk about in the lecture and personify them for your product or service.
Okay, so we really don't delve too deeply into operations management, but I do at least want to explain it, and I can give you the rundown of what it's really all about. Operations is really about developing protocols and procedures to ensure that the results you get in your business on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and a per transaction basis are predictable and, from the customer's perspective, identical, so that your employees can produce the results your customers want on a regular basis. With respect to operations, the focus is on efficiency, accuracy, and cost savings. Some examples of small business operations include things like daily tasks, setting up established procedures and guidelines, opening procedures and closing procedures, for example, so that everybody does the same thing so that nothing gets left out. If I have a procedure, for example, in my business that says the employee who comes in the morning has a responsibility to tidy things up when they get there, ideally the business will at least start out looking relatively attractive and aesthetically pleasing to a customer who walks in the door. Another example, I'm showing you here Maricosta's final exam schedule. Having a schedule so that your customers can see if I'm a yoga studio, what classes I'm offering, who's teaching them, then I know as a customer when I can expect to take a class, who the instructor will be, how long that class will be, etc. Here at Maricosta, we produce the final exam schedule to ensure that every class is provided with a final exam time slot, because we have to do that by law and they need a final exam. If we can have a final exam week that enables students to have enough time to take the final exam, they're going to need to have enough time in between finals to be able to eat, use the restroom, get themselves a Scantron or a Blue Book if they need it, things like that. So that's really an operational piece. Office logistics, where the decisions about where you place your most frequently used equipment and the convenience of that equipment. If I'm right-handed, for example, in my kitchen, I might want to maybe have all of my knives close to me on my right-hand side, so I'm not reaching over things. I certainly don't want to be reaching over a burner in order to gain access to my knives. Shipping and receiving protocols, a good explanation of how to pack boxes and what to do will enable employees to pack consistently, eliminate waste, and make sure that your products go out without being broken in transit, at least not by any kind of defective method that you may have used to pack it. And finally, consistency. Employees should be able to complete their jobs in a similar manner. Office logistics. That's really about where you put your stuff. If I'm somebody that's constantly using my laptop and the coffee machine, I might want to situate myself so that I am close to an electrical outlet, I've got good lighting, and I have easy access to my coffee. Ideally, I want to get the fewest motions possible and enable myself so that I can get things done in the quickest manner possible. That last piece is referred to as motion studies. Motion studies are really about ensuring that workers go through the fewest number of motions in order to accomplish a task to minimize injuries, to lessen the time that it takes for tasks to be completed, and to ensure, again, that the work gets done in a consistent manner. Lean manufacturing is about eliminating waste and redundancies in the production process. I think queuing theory is something that we've all experienced in line at McDonald's, Wendy's, any fast food restaurant or retail store for that matter. It's about the most efficient way to get customers in and out of the business. If you notice, a lot of McDonald's have 2 drive-through lanes. They have ordering kiosks and registers, and they've done that to be able to ensure that people can process their orders, or that people can be able to take orders quickly. And then once those orders are in the queue, the business can get them started and ideally get people through the line quicker, serve more customers, make more money. So just a couple of quick examples of operations in action. Let's take a look at Starbucks. Typically when you go to Starbucks, you see something like this, either in front of the store in the drive-through lane. And people don't like lines. People see lines and they generally tend to go the other way. And so one of the things that Starbucks wanted to do was maximize efficiencies to give baristas both more face time with the customer and reduce the time that it took to make a drink. And so they wanted to make more drinks with the same amount of workers. And really, an important part of operations management is about getting the most products or the most service out of the fewest amount of people, thereby saving time and cost. So, going back to Starbucks, the Frappuccino station was one of the things that Starbucks ultimately decided to address, because lots of people order Frappuccinos. And so they moved the most commonly used syrups closest to the customer so that when somebody was pumping someone's syrup, they could have the ability to have a face-to-face interaction with the customer if they wanted. Ultimately, what this did was save 8 seconds on a 45-second process, which enabled Starbucks to complete 10% more transactions per month, which meant less waiting time for customers and more profitability for the business. Another example, also from Starbucks, a store opening on average, and this is in large cities where you don't really have good access to a loading truck or loading dock. Employees were making 40 trips from the front of the store to the back of the store, opening and carrying baked goods, and so it took an hour and 15 minutes to get that done. So when thinking about making all of those trips, what are some things that you could do to make the process more efficient? There's lots of things that could possibly be done. This was something that was solved very simply by a Starbucks employee who just said, why don't we put all of our baked goods on rolling racks? Simple. Sometimes people don't think about the solution that's right in front of them. Another example, Disneyland. Disneyland is the master of operations management. Disney has a command center in each of their parks. In Anaheim, it's under Cinderella's castle. What does the operations center do? Well, they monitor the wait time in each line, and they communicate that information on their app so visitors can make informed decisions about which ride to go to. They know if lines are long, they know if people are leaving lines, and when they see that, they know that they can add cars to rides if need be. Typically, a lot of times, if they see a line, they'll send characters out to longer lines to help entertain kids. Something else that they do, if they see that Fantasyland is really full and crowded, but Adventureland is empty, they will set up an impromptu parade with a character to bring people out of Fantasyland and into Adventureland to help ensure that traffic moves through the park more efficiently. Also, to make sure that lines move more efficiently, they allow for single riders so they can fill as many cars as possible. And just to give you an idea of the amount of research that Disney does in operations, they've actually done research that tells them that the furthest someone will walk out of their way to put trash in a garbage can is 13 steps. So the next time you go to Disneyland, count the steps between all of the trash cans And chances are you will see that they aren't more than about 26 steps, because they always want you to be halfway between two trash cans. That's operations to the extreme, but hopefully it gives you an idea about what companies do to ensure things get done efficiently and that customers are served and there's a high level of quality. And hopefully some of these ideas are things that you can use in your business. When we look at small business operations, we have to think about inputs, process, and outputs. So your inputs are your supply chain. Who are you buying from? How are you going to get it to your location? That's transportation and logistics. And that's a really important piece. If you have a supplier who is overseas and who can sell something to you really inexpensively, but it's going to take 6 weeks to get the materials to you, that's something that you need to think about. Maybe it's more efficient for you to pay a little bit more and get it from a supplier in the next state over. Process, once you get your raw materials to you. Process is about how you produce. What do you need to do in order to turn your materials into a product? What manipulation do you need to make to those raw materials? Where you produce. Do you need a specifically designated space? If you're going to make food, you need to do it in a commercial kitchen, or you need to do it in a cottage industry approved kitchen. You can do it in your home kitchen, but the health department has to say so. Inventory management. Are you going to hold on to inventory? If you are, how much inventory are you going to hold on to? Where are you going to store it? How frequently is it going to turn? Meaning, how frequently are you going to sell it all? And probably most importantly, what's it worth? What you buy it for and what it's worth are two different things. And so you want to make sure that if you're carrying inventory, you're protecting it, either by having insurance or making sure that it's safe wherever it is. When we look at outputs, who is selling for you? Is it just you? Is it multiple employees? If it's multiple employees, do they know what they are responsible or what they're supposed to be doing each day? Where are you selling? What's your location? Are you selling from a brick and mortar location? Are you selling from a website? Are you doing both? And then, how are you keeping your customers happy? Do you have a process to greet them? Do you have a process in terms of how to handle the transaction, how to handle complaints, how to ensure that you get a good review on whatever review site is most important to you, whether it be Yelp, Amazon, Google, whatever? And do you know, and finally, with respect to customer relationship management, do you have some kind of customer loyalty mechanism to make sure that they keep coming back? So those are all additional factors that small businesses need to think about in terms of operations. There's a lot going on this slide, and all of this is information that you will probably have to address at some point as you are developing your business concept.